Hello. Today General Hospital will reveal the unexpected return of Jonathan Jackson as Lucky Spencer has sent shockwaves through the General Hospital fandom, reigniting long-dormant emotions and igniting an explosion of excitement across social media. Just months ago, Jackson had announced his departure from the show, citing personal reasons, most notably, the exhausting logistics of commuting between his home in Tennessee and the production set in California. It was a heartfelt farewell that felt final. Fans were heartbroken, believing they had seen the last of one of GH's most enduring and beloved characters. Lucky Spencer, a cornerstone of the show's legacy, was written out once again, leaving behind a trail of unfinished stories and broken hopes. But sometimes in the world of soaps, fate writes a different script. Against all odds, and contrary to his previous declarations, Jonathan Jackson is back. Not as a cameo, not as a nostalgic nod, but with purpose, depth, and a clear direction. His return is not just a nostalgic gesture, it is a powerful narrative decision that repositions Lucky Spencer as a pivotal force in the evolving mythology of General Hospital. What makes his return all the more compelling is the multidimensional storyline being woven around him, and the recognition that Lucky's character has far more to offer than the haunted ex-cop defined by loss. The first major reason behind Lucky's reintroduction is to form a new trio, an unlikely brotherhood, alongside Jason and Spinelli. Port Charles is currently embroiled in a shadowy war against a new wave of tech-based crime, and the network of villains has become increasingly sophisticated. Enter Lucky, reactivated for a covert mission that requires intelligence, empathy, and a morally anchored heart. While Jason brings brute force and unshakable instincts, and Spinelli lends his tech genius and emotional quirks, it's Lucky who bridges the gap, grounded in law enforcement but deeply in touch with the psychological complexities that haunt their pasts. The synergy between these three characters, each molded by pain, redemption, and duty, offers the show a golden opportunity to reinvent the idea of heroism in the GH universe. But this isn't merely about catching cyber criminals or bringing down faceless syndicates. The story has personal stakes. Rumors swirl around a new threat orchestrated by Sidwell, targeting none other than Elizabeth. If Liz is kidnapped, or lured into a trap, by a force she doesn't fully understand, the race to save her becomes a collision of past and present. Jason and Lucky, two men who have each loved her in profoundly different ways, would be forced to work side by side, confronting not only a criminal conspiracy but their shared history. Spinelli, whose connection to both men is unique and often overlooked, would add a much-needed layer of levity, brilliance, and unpredictable insight. The emotional gravity of this team-up is undeniable, especially when the life of Liz and her children, both shared and symbolic, hang in the balance. For Lucky, the mission is more than a rescue, it's redemption, perhaps the final chance to make peace with all he's lost. The second storyline driving Lucky's return centers on Gio, one of the newer yet most intriguing characters in Port Charles. Though there is no biological link between them, Gio and Lucky share an intangible yet powerful connection through music. Longtime viewers remember the rare and emotional moments when Lucky took the stage at Nurse's Ball, allowing the audience a glimpse into his soulful, artistic core. Gio, a prodigious violinist whose talents have been shelved following personal trauma, represents a younger version of Lucky, brimming with potential, yet unsure how to channel his passions. With Lucky back in town, the writers have a rare chance to craft a deeply inspirational storyline about mentorship, artistic healing, and intergenerational friendship. Imagine Lucky stumbling upon Gio playing his violin in a moment of solitude, reigniting something in both of them. Slowly, they begin to bond, Lucky picking up the guitar or lending his voice to a spontaneous melody, Gio rediscovering the beauty of his instrument. What begins as therapeutic escapism evolves into a genuine musical partnership, culminating in a joint performance that captivates Port Charles. A future Nurse's Ball could feature a show-stopping duet, one that not only marks Joe's return to the stage but also solidifies Lucky's re-emergence as a man no longer defined by tragedy. Their collaboration could even birth original music, perhaps an album, turning what started as a subplot into one of the most emotionally resonant arcs of the season. It would be a love letter to creativity, courage, and the power of second chances. Yet the most poignant aspect of Lucky's return, the one that holds the deepest emotional resonance, lies with Elizabeth. Liz has always been more than a romantic interest to Lucky. She has been his muse, his mirror, and his anchor in times of chaos. Over the years, she buried her dream of becoming a professional painter, choosing instead the safety of nursing and motherhood. But her soul has always ached for something more, something that once flourished when Lucky believed in her with unwavering faith. His reappearance is not merely a rekindling of romance, it is a reawakening of identity. By gently reminding Liz of who she used to be, and what she once dared to dream, Lucky becomes the catalyst for a long-overdue renaissance. Through subtle moments. Perhaps a sketch Lucky kept, a conversation about her old paintbrushes, or an afternoon visit to an abandoned art gallery, Liz begins to feel the stirrings of inspiration again. Encouraged by Lucky, she sets up a makeshift studio in her home, cautiously putting brush to canvas. What emerges are not just paintings, but deeply personal windows into her past, present, and future. Ava, ever the savvy gallery owner, stumbles upon the work and insists on showcasing it. Soon, Liz is preparing for her first public exhibition, and on opening night, as the crowd murmurs their admiration, her eyes search for only one face, Lucky's. Standing quietly in the corner, he watches with pride, knowing that while he couldn't give her everything in the past, he has given her this, a rebirth. And the paintings themselves? Perhaps they're not abstract expressions or meaningless landscapes. Perhaps they are depictions of their shared memories. One of their first dances, the porch swing where they once kissed, or the son they both lost. Each canvas becomes a silent conversation between them, layered with heartbreak and hope. In that gallery, surrounded by art and emotion, Lucky and Liz won't need words to understand each other. The love that once shattered them has now transformed into something richer, wiser, and infinitely more enduring. Jonathan Jackson's return as Lucky is not simply a casting decision. It's a declaration that some stories are too important to leave unfinished, and some characters too iconic to fade quietly into the background. This is not just a nostalgic reprisal of a fan favorite, it is a sophisticated reimagining of a legacy character who still has so much to say. In Lucky Spencer, the writers now hold the key to unlocking a series of narratives that can move between action, art, music, romance, and redemption, each strand intricately tied to the emotional heart of General Hospital. And perhaps the greatest twist of all is that this return, which fans believed would never happen, has the potential to redefine everything we thought we knew about Lucky Spencer. He is no longer the boy running from his past, nor the man crippled by his failures. He is the bridge between generations, the heartbeat of a deeper truth, and a reminder that healing is not only possible, it is beautiful. Jonathan Jackson's return to General Hospital as Lucky Spencer is not just an exciting casting announcement, it is a seismic event in the soap opera landscape, one that carries with it decades of history, layered emotional resonance, and far-reaching implications for the future of the show. This comeback, shocking in its suddenness yet deeply strategic in its execution, represents a masterstroke by the writers and producers, who have recognized the raw, untapped potential of a character whose absence has long been felt in both the narrative and the emotional heart of Port Charles. Jackson's prior departure, which was framed as final due to personal and geographical circumstances, left fans bereft, mourning the loss of a character whose journey had become synonymous with vulnerability, strength, and redemption. And yet, despite his declaration that the logistical demands of filming were incompatible with his family life in Tennessee, the call of General Hospital proved irresistible, not just for Jackson, but for a devoted audience who never stopped hoping for his return. The magnitude of this comeback is reflected in the overwhelming fan response. Social media became a living shrine to Lucky Spencer within hours of the announcement. Platforms like X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit exploded with throwback content, memorable stills of Lucky and Liz's most intimate moments, recordings of Lucky's emotional musical performances from past nurses' balls, and deeply personal testimonials from fans who grew up watching his character evolve. These were not casual reactions, they were visceral, cathartic, celebratory. For many longtime viewers, Lucky represents more than just a fictional persona. He is a symbol of resilience, of loving through pain, of breaking and still standing. The fact that Jackson had, not long ago, publicly stated that he would not return, makes the reality of his reappearance feel like a narrative twist scripted by fate itself. What was once a farewell has now become a promise. An unspoken contract between actor and audience, that Lucky Spencer's story is far from over. What makes this return especially significant is the clear, intentional shift in the show's long-term narrative architecture. Lucky's reintroduction isn't haphazard or superficial, it is foundational. His character is now being strategically positioned at the intersection of several major storylines, each designed to explore different facets of his identity and challenge him in new, transformative ways. The alliance between Lucky, Jason, and Spinelli is a perfect example. This trio, unexpected yet profoundly compelling, allows the show to explore the convergence of action, intellect, and emotional depth. Each man carries his own trauma, Jason with his identity crisis and dangerous loyalties, Spinelli with his social insecurities and suppressed genius, and Lucky with his history of addiction, betrayal, and loss. Together, they are not just an investigative team. They are a tapestry of masculinity redefined. Their shared mission, possibly involving cybercrime or a dangerous kidnapping orchestrated by Sidwell, becomes a metaphor for healing, for rediscovering purpose through service and solidarity. Lucky's tactical mind and moral clarity balance Jason's ruthlessness and Spinelli's chaotic brilliance. Through working together, they begin to trust again, not just each other, but themselves. This storyline also offers fertile ground for deep emotional stakes. Should Elizabeth become the center of the threat, the narrative tension becomes explosive. Both Jason and Lucky have shared intimate, complicated histories with Liz, and both are, in their own ways, protectors of her heart, even when they've broken it. The prospect of these two men, once rivals, now allies, working together to save her could yield some of the most poignant scenes in recent GH history. Imagine a moment where Lucky and Jason, bloodied and breathless, reach Liz's side at the same time, their old wounds resurfacing even as their united purpose keeps them focused. Such scenes would not just thrill, they would devastate, in the best, most cathartic way. Meanwhile, Lucky's bond with Gio offers a softer, more soulful exploration of identity and legacy. Gio, the gifted but emotionally fractured violinist, embodies the next generation of artistic brilliance in Port Charles. His retreat from music parallels Lucky's own emotional retreat from his life's purpose. When Lucky encounters Gio, there's a recognition, not just of talent, but of pain. Lucky sees in Gio the young man he used to be, overflowing with promise, yet unsure how to harness it without breaking. Their developing friendship, born from shared silence and spontaneous song, becomes a journey of mutual rediscovery. Perhaps it starts in small, quiet ways. Gio practicing alone, Lucky humming a forgotten melody, and slowly blooms into something radiant. Maybe they compose a song together, something raw and honest, and perform it at a future nurses' ball to thunderous applause and tearful standing ovations. Perhaps the song contains lyrics about fathers, losses, and finding the courage to keep playing when the music fades. The symbolism would be profound, especially if Lucky speaks publicly afterward. Not as a hero, but as a man finally ready to let go of guilt and embrace his place in the present. Then there is the most intimate, soul-stirring arc of all, the rekindling of Elizabeth's artistic soul through Lucky's return. For years, Liz has been buried under the weight of responsibility, raising children, navigating careers, surviving trauma. The dreamer, the painter, the girl with ink on her fingers and color in her veins, she's been dormant, not dead. Lucky's return becomes the spark that reanimates that part of her. He doesn't push, he reminds. He leaves a sketchbook on her kitchen counter. He brings her to a local gallery. He sits quietly as she hesitantly picks up a brush again. The beauty of this story lies in its restraint. It's not about grand declarations or dramatic reunions. It's about two people who have already been through everything slowly finding their way back to what matters. And as Liz begins to paint again, the audience watches not just a woman reclaiming her identity, but a shared love story transforming into something higher, creative rebirth. Imagine Liz's first exhibit, hosted at Ava's gallery. The room is filled with Port Charles regulars, each admiring the evocative, moody canvases lining the walls. But tucked into the corner is Lucky, watching with a quiet, reverent pride. Perhaps one painting, hung in the back, almost hidden, shows two figures beneath a tree, hands entwined, faces unfinished. It's them. It always was. In that moment, there's no need for conversation. Their story is in the art. It's in every stroke, every shadow, every piece of her soul finally laid bare. And the viewers at home? They're crying. Because what they're witnessing isn't just a reunion, it's transcendence. This is why Jonathan Jackson's return matters. Not for shock value. Not for a ratings bump. But because it breathes new life into the narrative bloodstream of General Hospital. It invites viewers to revisit their own memories with the show, to reflect on growth, forgiveness, art, and identity. Through Lucky, GH reclaims its emotional center. Through Jackson's performance, we remember why we watch soap operas in the first place, not just for the twists, but for the transformation. For the courage to change. For the chance to come home again, not as who we were, but as who we've become. And that's what makes this return not a conclusion, but a beginning. A promise. Lucky Spencer, once the golden boy lost in shadows, now stands in the light. And this time, he's staying. Lucky Spencer's return to General Hospital is not just a casting decision, it is the reawakening of a legacy, the resurgence of a soul who has for decades embodied the heart, struggle, and evolution of Port Charles. This is not a cameo or a temporary nostalgia trip for longtime viewers. It is the reintroduction of a man who once stood at the emotional center of the show, whose quiet strength, tragic losses, and moral conviction etched him permanently into the DNA of the series. With Jonathan Jackson stepping back into this iconic role, the return of Lucky isn't simply a restoration of the past, it is the genesis of something far more meaningful, nuanced, and transformative for General Hospital as a whole. The very essence of Lucky Spencer has always been his complexity. He is the son of soap opera royalty, born of the legendary Luke and Laura, but he is not defined by their fame or fame's burden. Rather, Lucky has forged his own path, often diverging from the chaos and grandeur of his family to embrace a deeper, more introspective journey. He has lived many lives. The idealistic teenager who believed in truth and justice, the tortured addict wrestling with demons not of his own making, the wounded lover whose heart was both healer and victim, and the flawed but devoted father trying to navigate a world that never stopped breaking him. His absence left a cavernous void that no new character, no romantic triangle, no rival hero could ever truly fill. His return is more than a narrative twist, it is a necessary recalibration of the show's emotional compass. And this return is unlike any before. It is not marked by drama for drama's sake. It arrives with purpose, care, and an undercurrent of emotional intelligence that speaks volumes about the evolution of both the character and the show's writing. This time, Lucky doesn't return to repair old wounds or chase fleeting love. He returns as a fully grown man. Scarred but sober, wiser and more emotionally fluent, no longer looking for somewhere to belong, but ready to bring something of meaning to the lives around him. He is a man with a past, yes, but more importantly, he is a man who has finally made peace with it. And in doing so, he becomes uniquely positioned to help others confront their own broken pieces. It is this thematic depth that makes his return one of the most profound and potentially long-lasting reintegrations in General Hospital history. Lucky is no longer just a character whose personal arcs need closure, he is now a character capable of opening stories for others. He serves as an emotional bridge between generations, one who remembers the glory and trauma of GH's past while stepping boldly into its present. His connections are vast, and every one of them offers the potential for textured, character-driven drama. His renewed friendship with Jason could lead to one of the most unexpected and rewarding alliances in recent soap history, two men who once rivaled for the same woman now finding common ground in protecting the innocent, uncovering criminal conspiracies, and perhaps, quietly reconciling the grief they both carry. With Spinelli, Lucky could offer a kind of brotherhood rooted not in action, but in shared insecurity and underestimated strength, two men whose emotional intelligence has too often been overlooked. His bond with Gio is equally fertile ground for storytelling. Not only does it allow General Hospital to explore a non-familial mentorship between two artists of different generations, but it gives the show a new lens through which to examine masculinity, vulnerability, and creative expression. Joe's quiet torment and Lucky's hard-earned wisdom could collide in beautiful ways, through music, yes, but also through their mutual need to feel seen. A storyline in which they write and perform music together would not just be entertaining, it would be emotionally rich, symbolizing the healing power of art and the importance of passing down empathy and resilience to the next generation. Gio doesn't need another protector. He needs someone who understands, someone who's walked through fire and come out the other side. Lucky can be that person. And then, of course, there is Liz. The connection between Lucky and Elizabeth has always transcended the usual soap tropes.